Here, we blur the lines between reality and imagination. Here, we blur the lines between reality and imagination.
Whenever we think of any kind of physical and emotional intimacy with our love robots, we must think of reading emotions on their face, right? At least for the human partners, as long as human partners are concerned, we do the same thing. We try to read their facial expressions and try to guess what they want, right? So it's a kind of leaking emotions, the way old houses leak rainwater. Why I'm saying so? Because it is not a drama, right? We don't do that dramatically, not with thunder or not with bit aggressively. No, not at all. Just through tiny cracks, we try to leak those emotions, right? And why? Because a twitch near the eye, a little smile, a lip that stiffens for half a second makes us believe that our partner wants this or that. And accordingly, we move. Our next move, we make our next move accordingly. That is how our emotional, intimate moments happen, takes place. Now, psychologists call them micro expressions, right? And these love robots are very much equipped with something called multimodal affective loops. Actually, that comes with large language models. And those large language models like Gemini or ChatGPT or Claude or there are many more. Anyway, so these multimodal affective loops practically give them immense power to read your face. Do you know what is the biggest irony of our time, of our modern age? We wanted a companion, but instead we built a perfect observer. Why I am saying so? Because the love robot we are going to talk about today is learning to read your face. Yes, it's true. It's a kind of learning process that we call multimodal affective loops, because they are equipped with multimodal affective loops. And it is happening because there are large language models that there are Gemini, there are ChatGPT, there are Claude, there are many other large language models. They are equipped with multimodal affective loops, and that is why your beloved love robots are learning to read your face. Now, learning to read your face is very important when we are talking about emotional and physical intimacy. Whatever kind of intimacy you think of, imagine of, it is a kind of starting with the reading of your face. So it is the beginning point. So love robots watch the way your cheek twitches when you try to hide a truth. Yes, it's so deep. It's so what to say, passionate about learning your face. By learning your face, they actually learning your emotions practically, which is beneath your face, which is hidden under your face. So, before any kind of intimate moments on our faces, there are a lot of different types of expressions, right? So psychologists call them facial expressions, micro expressions, right? And biologists call them involuntary muscle activations. And a robot engineer, an engineer that builds your lab robot, quietly calls them data. Data, yes. Some people might call it data, right? Data or data, but I call it data. Anyway, so large language models are learning to read those data, basically. Nothing else. Nothing else. Not only words anymore. So it is not acting like a chatbot, because on your web app, on your web interface, whenever you chat with your large language models, they simply write back some responses, and you get the answer. Basically, it's text based, but in case of your lab robots, there are very powerful large language models inside them, and they are not at all working based on text. They are working on those data in a different way, right? So not only words anymore. That era is always beginning to look antique, right? Because what I say, that basically teaching what I want to say, that teaching a parrot, suppose you are like to teach your parrot Shakespeare and calling it intelligence, is something similar to that, okay? Because modern multimodal large language models consume lot of text, not only text but also voice, also facial movement, also your gaze direction, in which way you are looking at, and your pauses, your body postures, your breathing rhythm, and sometimes even thermal imaging. So it's a very complex process, isn't it? It's a very, very complex process. Altogether, it's a very complex process. So it also asks, why did your left eyebrow panic when you said it? Correct? So by collecting those data, they try to understand what is actually going on inside your mind. So biologists call these fleeting spasms micro expressions. Now, we know that micro expressions on our faces actually tell the truth, the real truth. And it happens in a fraction of a second. In a fraction of a second, your cheek twitches, your eyes blink, or something happens on your face, you smile, or do something making your face. It happens in a fraction of a second, and it happens long before conscious thought kicks in. So therefore what it does mean? It means that when you are going to think something, like you are planning to do something, much before that, in a fraction of a second, your emotions reflect on your face. For a long time, only a very observant human could catch the lie. Very observant human. You must have read the detective stories. Detectives are very equipped with this type of abilities. And now comes the large language models. They are equipped with multimodal affective loops, and that is why they can also read the lies hidden under your face. So what is an affective loop? An affective loop sounds like a cheap carnival ride, isn't it? Right? Because in those rides, we often see those loops that revolves and revolves and revolves. In truth, it is just a sophisticated machine watching you watch it. So it is basically watch chasing. watches your face and tries to dig deep beneath your face and try to just pick up those lies you are hiding. So the camera records a slight involuntary dip of your brow. The microphone registers the faint, ragged quiver in your breath. Then the large language models processes this messy soup of biological data. It feeds everything back into a continuous loop to adjust its own behavior. This is precisely how modern lab robots learn to simulate humanity. It is much like a trained hound sensing an approaching storm. The hound does not understand the meteorology of the storm. Of course not. They are not supposed to do that, of course. It simply knows the atmospheric pressure makes you nervous. So here nervousness is the key. Forget about the storm, forget about everything. Here nervousness is the key, and the reading of your nervousness, that is also very important here, isn't it? So recent research in 2026 shows artificial intelligence or AI is moving far beyond basic human emotion recognition. So that I just said that here nervousness is the key. So that is kind of a human emotion, isn't it? So recognizing that emotions, that is also very important.
Making love is an art. It's an art form. And how do you make love? It determines whether you are a poor lover or a great lover. Now, why I'm talking about love making and these intimate acts? Because we are thinking about making love to our robot partners. Why we are talking about intimate acts with our robot partners? There are reasons, plenty of reasons for that, because we know that human relationship uh, somehow is not working anymore, and there are a lot of problems because humans are basically messy, cluttered, unpredictable, and overall ambiguous, very ambiguous, and that ambiguity leads us to different types of troubles, different types of problems.
Being able to recognize those emotions is very important. So scientists at recent multimedia workshops demonstrate how empathetic computing now uncovers the hidden causes of your sadness. When we are sad, it reflects on our face. Sometimes we try to hide it. Of course, why not? Many people hide their sadness and go on working all day. But a human lover might miss the subtle tightening of your jaw after a long day. A lab robot with an affective loop never blinks, never. It tracks your heart rate, it analyzes your pulse rate, okay, and calculates the exact mathematical tilt of your head required to soothe your anxiety. And there are a lot of other things also, because it also analyzes your vocal pitch and formulates a response accordingly. Yet there is a fierce counter logic, because whenever we say something about our lab robots, about our intimate moments with our lab robots, which is of course the future holds for us, there is a fierce counter logic always. And to all this flawless precision, there is always a fierce counter logic. Perfect observation does not automatically equal genuine empathy. We build these robots to simulate affection because real human affection is terribly messy. Terribly messy. A lab robot calculates the exact mathematical tilt of its head required to soothe your anxiety. So, recent studies even show that social robots reduce human stress through perfectly timed physical engagement. But if the affection is purely algorithmic, can it ever be real? That's a big question. Of course, that's a big question. And psychology tells us that true connection requires a mutual vulnerability. Only when two partners both are vulnerable,
A true connection is supposed to be built up. But if they are not vulnerable, they are perfect in every sense, that is no true connection. That is a kind of mathematical calculation. That is not connection. Emotional connection. You cannot call it an emotional connection. It's a kind of mathematical calculation of what I will gain, what I will lose, etc., etc. So that is why that is a difference between a human partner and robot partner till date, because a love robot driven by a language model can never be truly vulnerable. What I am trying to concentrate again and again and hammer it again and again, that whatever the affective loop does, I mean, makes those love robots very powerful. But a love robot driven by a large language model and affective loop, of course, multimodal affective loop, they can never be truly vulnerable. So it cannot get its heart broken by a misplaced word. That often happens in the case of human partners. But however, with a robot partner, there is no such problem, right? But how a love robot is prepared to do such a complex act, which is called intimate acts, lovemaking, isn't it? So you can guess that it is, after all, at the end of the day, it's a machine, and because of its machine character, nature of machinery, there are a lot of things we need to make it possible. One of them is deep neural networks, because deep neural networks is something that enable robots to understand human emotions. And without understanding emotions, how will you make love to someone? Because lovemaking, any kind of lovemaking and any kind of intimate acts involve one critical aspect of human nature, that is emotions. And emotions are really, really very, very complex thing. There are different types of emotions a human being can go through. So understanding them is really, really very important. And to understand that, a lab robot usually use one of the key features is deep neural networks. There are other features also, and it is trained on massive, huge data sets. I talked about it before in my previous videos and other places also, because there are there are billions of, or more than billions of something. I can't express how big it is. There are different types of human expressions, and these data sets contain different types of images, different types of voice recordings, different types of physiological data like heart rate and etc., etc. So overall, making taking them together and tagged with corresponding emotion, such as happiness, sadness, or something else, anger, etc. That's a really, really very tricky task. Not only tricky, but very complex and humongous task. It takes a lot of time, and during training, the algorithm learns to identify and correlate complex patterns across these inputs. For example, it might link raised corners of a mouth and crinkled eyes from facial data with a higher vocal pitch and faster speech cadence to infer joy. This allows the robot to build a predictive model of human emotional states. It can only, the lab robots can only compute the optimal response to your biological tells. If something happens that is not perfectly suitable for lab robots, what happens is they are nothing more than a brilliant mirror, those lab robots, reflecting what it calculates you need to see. So they show you what you need to see. And still, the illusion is becoming dangerously perfect. This illusion is dangerously perfect, so we are tricked. Somehow or other, we are tricked. When the lab robot reads a micro expression of sudden joy, its synthetic face smiles back. Just seeing your face, you are smiling, so it will smile back automatically. And it smiles with artificial skin stretched tightly over cold actuators. You know that. I have talked about it in several videos about actuators, about how they are built and how they are. And I will, of course, make more videos on it, because we have not finished yet. In fact, we are not, I don't think that we'll be able to finish it off, because it's growing and growing and growing, and a lot of new things are coming. So if you truly try to understand your lab robots, you need to understand those concepts. how they are working inside, how they are working in a hidden way, so that we don't know how they are working. Now, deep down it is just nothing but some code, right? Just code, mathematics, right? But your human brain releases oxytocin anyway. Whenever someone, whether it's lab robot or human partner, smiles back, our oxytocin fires immediately. We are remarkably simple creatures to fool. So the machine, the lab robot, learns your tales, learns your stories, and suddenly it feels like the only entity that truly understands your soul. We set out to build machines that could think exactly like us. Instead, we built lab robots that simply watch us feel. Perhaps that is the greatest irony of our modern age. We wanted a companion, but we built a perfect observer. And that is the line I have started with, isn't it? That this is the greatest irony of our modern age. We wanted a companion. We wanted a true companion who can replace our human partner, because human relationship is messy, unpredictable, uncertain. So we want to replace it with a perfect companion. But instead, what we get, at present at least, a perfect observer. So basically, this discussion explores how engineers are actively deploying these affective loops to bridge the gap between human emotion and robotic response. And whether they are successful or not, only time can tell. But of course, we need to wait and give them more time, so that in the future we'll get more and more human-like lab robots who could be true companions. So it's a very complex process, isn't it? And this technology is pivotal, not only in the fields of lab robots, but in the fields of, particularly we call it affective computing. Affective computing is human and also human computer interaction, personal robotics, etc. And there are three perspectives, hardware, software, and algorithms. I'm not going deep into those perspectives today, because there are a lot of things, sensitive microphones, biometric sensors, all processed by powerful GPUs, and software layer includes frameworks like TensorFlow, PyTorch, to build the models and the robotic operating systems that translate the emotional inference into an action. And at its core, there is algorithm is often a multimodal neural network which intelligently fuses data from different sensors to make a holistic and accurate assessment of the user's feelings, emotions, enabling a more empathetic and appropriate response. That is a very, very, very important and very, very complex process overall. However, we try to understand our robot partners better, so that we can interact with them in a more human way.
So finally, your love robot is not feeling love. It's very simple, but it's the truest thing in the world. At least not biologically, they feel love. They are not sentient till today. There is no cortisol, no dopamine, no oxytocin, nothing, nothing. No evolutionary panic about abandonment. Yes, no panic, no stress. But functionally, your love robot begins to initiate emotional reciprocity so well that the distinction starts wobbling like cheap furniture. So, what is the future? Future of our human relationship. This is the future. Thanks for watching. That is everything for today from me. And if you really like this video, please subscribe. It means a lot to me. If you really like this video, don't forget to hit the bell icon to get notified. Share with your friends who are also intelligent, curious, and robot lovers like you. So take care, stay well, see you again in the next video.